Right guys, since most people are getting to the end of the Zenless Zone Zero main story, I figured I would go ahead and rank the involvement of all the characters who are in the main story. We got a tier list of them all here. I've excluded the ones that haven't been involved just yet, but we are going to rate them on how much I enjoyed their presence, how much I enjoyed their character arcs, and yeah, basically just how much I like them in the story. That is it. We're going to go through all these characters and rank them. Now, I really enjoyed the main story for Zenless Zone Zero, a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest, and I was pretty invested, and I'm super excited to see what comes next. We're going to the Outer Ring. I'm guessing we're going to meet up with the biker gang probably out there. It's going to be exciting. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the rankings. Alright, let's start with our two proxy twins. Let's start with Wise. Wise was a bit of a sleeper to me. I was not quite sure if I was going to like Wise, especially based on his design, because it is very generic, very plain, and to be honest, his personality is not the most bombastic or anything like that, but I think he has a calm presence and a sort of sarcastic tone to a lot of the lines that he delivers, and I think he's very enjoyable in the story. I don't think he has anything crazy going on as far as character arcs, but his dynamic with his sister, I think, is very enjoyable to watch. So I'm going to give Wise a solid. We're going to put him in A tier, I think. I think he's very enjoyable to watch, and I think, actually, no, let's put him in B tier, because I like these two together a lot. I like Wise and Belle and their interactions together. I have Belle as my main character, but just her in different cutscenes, she has a much more energetic personality. She's much more bouncy in the animations, right? These two kind of complement each other, but just because of that, I think she's a lot more fun to watch and interact with the other characters, so I think Belle is going to be up here, right? Neither of these characters are having crazy arcs. There are point-of-view characters, but I think they are both very fun. So I have not included the side stories like the character quests in this, except for one. I have done the Soldier 11 one, so I'm going to include her, but outside of that I have not completed the other ones, so any reference from that I will not have. So if Nekomata's story arc is like crazy good, or Arena's is crazy good, then I will not have reference for that, and I will rank them based on just the main story. Soldier 11 will be the only exception to that rule. So, Soldier 11, after doing her side quest, I can say that she is fine. I think the whole selling point of that quest was more the fact that we were pretending to be ourselves, and there's multiple layers of people not knowing who we are, and that can be quite entertaining. She has a few little quirky things, like getting our names wrong. She loves noodles, and besides that, she's pretty militaristic, and is very bound by like the honor and the structure of the military. She would never defect. She's a loyal servant of the military. And I don't think she makes for the most interesting character, but I think it was serviceable, especially for her quest, and I don't dislike her. I like her decently. So I think B is exactly where she should be. She is a likable character, and I hope we get to see more of her squad and more from her in the future. So Kaku is not that involved in the story. She just makes mention of a few things about eating, like she does in all her animations and things like that. She basically has not been involved in the story. I assume we'll get more involvement with her squad at a later date, and we'll probably get to know her a bit better, but she comes off as pretty one-note from what I've seen, and I'm not super excited to see her in the main story. I'd be more excited to see some of her compatriots. But yeah, for now we have not seen that much of her, and so I think just because of that, it's not like as little as these guys. Like, these guys pretty much were not involved at all, but she had a couple speaking lines, but nothing special, and they weren't like particularly enjoyable or funny. So she's probably going to be one of the bottom ranking ones. Miyabi is just cool, and I think she's like slightly autistic or something. She speaks in a very weird way. She has issues communicating with other people, but she has a lot of badass cutscenes. She's not super story relevant right now, but I got a feeling that she's going to become very story relevant in the future. So I think for now, She is cool, but I'm looking forward to more stuff. So I think she could easily go up in the future, but for now I want to put her in B. I thought Lycan was just going to be a furry bait character. In fact, I didn't even know he was the leader of his faction when I first saw him, but his voice actor is incredibly charming. And he's pretty entertaining, trying to keep his entire organization running smoothly and acting as charismatic and professional as he does, and I think he's a very fun presence to have around. I very much enjoyed when he was on screen. He's also got some very cool flashy cutscenes along with the rest of the Victoria housekeeping, so I will put him in a solid A. I think we will see more of them as well. They've been hinted at in the main story as being bigger players than we may have suspected. So hopefully we will see more of him in the future, and maybe we'll get more of a character arc for one of their faction as well. Corrin is similar. I don't like Corrin as much. She seems a bit more gimmicky as far as character traits go. I don't hate her, but I don't love her, and I don't see them doing too much interesting with her in the future. I mean, I think she'll be involved, but she's basically just the incompetent newbie that's trying to learn the ropes and is constantly nervous that she's going to screw up and get a slap on the wrist from Lycan or Rena or whoever else. But yeah, I'm not thrilled with Corrin. I think she's fine. She's fun as a character, but I don't think she's adding too much to this story. I'm not as excited for her future as some of the other Victoria housekeeping characters, so I think I'm going to stick Corrin in C for Corrin. Rena is kind of a fun character. She often likes to sneak up on people, and both of her little Bang Boo puppets can talk, which I was not aware of, and they have some funny little lines as they take you around and help you out, or when they're talking to Eos, and other things like that. I think she generally brings a good screen presence. I don't think it's as strong as Lycan, but I think she has a lot of fun personality quirks that make her a fun character to have in the story. And again, as basically the second in command, I think she's probably going to play a pretty big role in the future of the story when all the Victoria housekeeping people inevitably show back up. And yeah, I'm excited for that. This might be a controversial take, but Ellen, I thought, was pretty disappointing in the story. I thought she was going to be more interesting than she is, because I really, really, really like her design and her moveset and her weapon. It looks super duper cool. But she's kind of just pouty and tired, but she's the secret super strong one. Kind of like Zenitsu from Demon Slayer, where she'll suddenly take on superpowers and then she'll go back into her normal state and not be as effective. Kind of the inverse of that, actually. Since he sleeps to get his powers, she sleeps when she's used all her powers. But that's about all there is to it. It's just kind of the mystery of realizing that she's the strongest in her faction. Outside of that, she makes some very, pouty comments. She's very lackadaisical, doesn't really want to be there, would rather be doing pretty much anything else. And I just don't like her energy that much, to be honest. I mean, she is definitely very different from the other characters in her faction. I think they could do more with her and make a story quest around her double life. Maybe she does have a story quest for herself already that I haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with her in the main quest. But I think you could do something interesting with her. So I think she's not as kind of one note as Corrin. I think there's more stuff you could do with her. But for now, I will leave her in B with Rena. Let's talk about Anton. Anton, I thought, could have been a very boring character. He could have just been the bro character. He just wants to have his bro. But that's kind of just a little gimmick at the beginning. Really, he's just kind of a noble, hard-working guy. And he encourages the robot to take on those same aspirations as he does. He wants to do his work and do it well. And there's no point at which he's ready to back down from a fight. He's very much a man's man, and I think he's not the most interesting in Belobog, but I think he does a decent job at filling out that cast of characters, because he's definitely very different from the others, and yeah, a fun archetype to have around. Probably going to keep him in B as well. This is turning into a B tier list, but we should get some ones that are a bit higher later on, we will see. Let's talk about Ben. I like Ben's introduction a lot. It's very fun. His, Bell mistaking him for being the president of the company because he's this big, intimidating figure, but really he's a real big softy, and he just enjoys being nice to people and supporting them, and he's kind of the voice of reason within his faction. He's often the one who is keeping their heads on straight, and I really like Ben as a character. I don't think he does anything too special, but I generally enjoy when he's on screen. And don't call me a furry for putting both of these guys so high, but I do genuinely like their characters in the story. Kaleda is a pretty interesting character. I think she's probably the one with the second most depth in the story, as of so far. She is very much the focus of the Belobog faction quest, and with trying to figure out what happened to her dad, still having unprocessed emotional damage from when he left, and finally learning that maybe he wasn't the bad guy that she made him out to be in her head. There's a lot of emotional processing that she has to do. She has the conflict with Grace because they have very different outlooks on who her father really was, and I think she has a lot of interesting character interactions. I know some people don't love her voice. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. And I think she is probably one of the best characterized characters in the game, and has probably some of the best moments of any character. So I think she is an easy S tier as far as the story goes so far. I think her quest was quite enjoyable, and she was the focus of it, so there you go. Grace is like a psychopath. She builds machines with pretty much no oversight, and things go wrong. Fortunately, it's not her fault in the story, but she worries me about what kind of devious things she can cook up. But Grace is very fun to have on screen, and she plays off Kaleda very well. She's basically sees horrors in a very different light to Kaleda. She very much respects the man despite what she thinks may have happened. Obviously, she doesn't know some of the details that Kaleda knows, but it creates an interesting conflict between the two. And I think she is definitely one of the higher tier characters that I enjoy watching. I think her motherly gimmick, like she's very much like a mother to everyone and to her machines, and I think she plays it up a little too much. I don't love it as much as I do Kaleda, because Kaleda's less gimmicky, she's more of an actual fleshed out character, but I think Grace is as well. She's definitely got some depth to her. It's just on the surface she's a bit of a one-note character, so I think that hinders her slightly, but I think still a very strong character within this cast. Let's talk Ambi. I really, really like Ambi. I thought I would at least like her when the game first came out. I was interested in the design and the playstyle, but now that I've seen the story, I really like Ambi. She's very much calm, but makes her words count. She is incredibly self-confident, and at the end of the day, it seems like she had some sort of trauma that causes her to pretty much, no matter what, she will support the good people, no matter what the people around her say. You would think she's a bit of a follower, but I think in reality she has a lot of drive, and she is very much doing what she wants to be doing. Anyway, I really enjoy Ambi. I like her movie references. I would get along with Ambi in real life. She is one of my favorite characters. I don't think everybody else is going to share this opinion, and she's not like the most heavily developed, but I very much enjoy her presence in the game. Nekomiya is probably number one as far as character development goes, as far as what I have played in the main story. She's a pretty complicated character. She was adopted by the Red Fang Gang. She left them because she had issues with their morality and felt that they had changed. She still had sentimental feelings towards some of the members, though. She didn't completely oust herself. She still cared about some of them. So she sought revenge when one of them died in the Hollow, and tried to pursue the people who did it. But after seeing that those people have a good moral heart, and after seeing that they wanted to save good people, despite all the odds against them, she changed her mind, and she joined up with them, and I think she's just a very strong character in general. She is, she has some nuance to her opinions, and she very much has the strongest, clear arc in the main story. I could do without the constant, meows and nyas, but I do think it's funny that it's probably just an act that she puts up to try and endear people to her. I think that's a very funny touch. So I don't love those, but it is hard to deny that she is not one of the best characters as far as writing goes in this game. So I will put her up here with these three. I should probably put them in order, because Ambi, as much as I love Ambi, I can't say that she is as well developed as these two. These are very much the center of the first and second acts. And unfortunately, the third act doesn't really have as much focus on a single character in their arc. It's very much trying to save Rain, which serves a kind of greater purpose within the entire plot. So we don't really have someone who is as developed from the Victoria faction, but pretty much all the Victoria characters are enjoyable to watch, so I don't have too much of an issue with it. Billy is another one that he's not wildly developed, but just like Anby, he is incredibly fun to watch. He's also quite funny that he's the only one alive on the airship in Act 3, and that he has no idea how to drive, but because he's an android, he can survive the smoke. And he's freaking out, and he's constantly like a source of humor in both the way that he moves and just the like slapstick stuff that he does and says. I very much enjoy Billy as a character, and watching him, he is very entertaining. Don't get me wrong, I really like Nicole. I find it interesting that she is both money hungry, yet cares about her companions and is always pretty much broke, which is interesting, because I think at the end of the day, she's very much a good person and will put her money towards a good cause before using it for herself or desiring it for herself, right? There's a reason that her odd job agency makes no money. I like Nicole as a character. I like the concept. I think she's got more layers to her than a lot of the other characters in the game. And but I don't like her as much as I do Billy and Amby. I mean, all three of them play off each other incredibly well. She's very much the loud one, keeping everyone in line. Billy's kind of the comic relief, and Amby is the straight man, but throws in some humor here and there. But yeah, these three, I just genuinely enjoy every single moment on screen that they have. And yeah, I mean, none of them have particularly deep story arcs that we've seen so far, but whenever I see them, I have a massive grin on my face. And yeah, I just really enjoy these three characters. Okay, we get to these guys. And I have to say, when I was playing Chapter 2.5, I was starting to zone out. Because it was not, I was not as invested as some of the previous acts. We're trying to catch a criminal who's been doing some EMP stuff, and it's a very slow chapter. And Zhu Yuan, I think that's how you pronounce it, she's probably the more interesting of the two. She at least has some personality, but nothing compared to some of the other characters in the other factions. I think she's pretty weak in general compared to a lot of the other characters as far as story goes. Obviously her design, I like her design, and her gameplay is pretty cool as well, but I don't think her story is the most interesting, and I think Qingyi, oh my god, yeah, I kind of just rolled my eyes anytime this character was on screen. She's like an android, so she's meant to be a bit monotone. She has some attempts at like humor where they throw in like random poems, but it's always like, what? That was a poem? That wasn't a very good poem. Was that supposed to be funny? Yeah, these two are like the least charismatic and like least, I don't know, just they're the least interesting archetypes that I've seen. Very much a professional soldier, and her counterpart, which is an android. They're just kind of competent at their jobs, and you try and crack a case with them. So, unless you're invested in that case, I was not particularly. It reveals some stuff at the end, which is a bit interesting with regards to later plot points. But overall, I don't find these characters to be the most entertaining. But yes, I think Zhu Yuan is a bit more interesting, and has a bit more potential. I think Qingyi is, I have very little interest in her after that story quest. So that is it. Here are our top tiers. 2 of them for having incredibly well-written stories, and 2 of them for having very good personalities. The rest of these kind of go based on how much I enjoyed their presence. I like when all these characters are on screen, and I enjoy like the way their personalities show. and some of the depth to their characters that are shown in the stories. These guys I think I'm fine with. If they're on screen, I'm usually enjoying myself. Especially Miyabi, I think, has a lot of potential, along with some of the other Victoria housekeeping faction. Here, I'm just like, I'd rather you not be on screen, but it is what it is. And these two is like, oh, Jesus, we need to get somebody else in here quickly, otherwise I'm gonna start falling asleep. And, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these other characters are compared to them. I will continue to do these character story quests as well, so maybe my opinion on some of these characters will change. Maybe Rina will go up, maybe Nekomata will become even better than she already is. Maybe, I don't know if Lycan has one, but maybe he will go up, Grace, all the standard 5 stars. But that is what my thoughts are for now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. How have you been liking the story so far? Or which characters are some of your favorites? Let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe, and take care, ladies and gentlemen.